Hello and welcome back to my Astronomy Nights. I'm Derek, and in this video I'm looking at Messier 65, Messier 66 and NGC 3628, all better known as the Leo Galaxy Triplet, that wonderful trio of galaxies in the constellation of Leo. This is a fantastic target if you're starting out in amateur astronomy, but it's also a great target if you're a seasoned amateur astronomer to return to each year to check how your imaging or observation skills are improving. Leo is a zodiacal constellation sitting on the ecliptic, and it's best to observe objects within it between the end of January and the end of May. It's full of galaxies. This is because we're looking out away from the plane of our own galaxy, the Milky Way, out into the intergalactic space, and we can see loads of galaxies in this region of Leo and Virgo and Coma Berenices up through to Ursa Major. There's wonderful galaxies within Leo. There's 5 Messier galaxies, but there's plenty more to observe. In this video I'm focusing on the 3 galaxies within the Leo Triplet. The initial discoveries of the Leo Triplet were made by Charles Messier when he observed the brightest 2 members, which we now know as Messier 65 and 66, in 1780 on March 1st. He had also noted that he observed this same location previously in 1773 when there was a bright comet that would have passed right between the 2 galaxies, but he was unable to observe the galaxies at that time. And it wasn't until 1784 that William Herschel spotted NGC 3628 for the first time, finishing off that Leo Triplet for everybody to observe. William Herschel did, however, mistakenly attribute the discovery of Messier 65 and 66 to Pierre Marchand, and this was clarified in 1960 by Kenneth Glenn Jones that Charles Messier himself did discover these 2 galaxies. That really interesting morphology then of each of the galaxies, where they've interacted with each other in the past, has gained them entry into Halton Arp's list of peculiar galaxies, with Messier 66 having its own entry as ARP 16, and then the whole triplet together being entered in as ARP 317. These are a wonderful pair of galaxies, and Messier 65 is kind of more straightforward of the 2. It hasn't had much distortions in its history, so it's got a little warping of its galactic plane compared to Messier 66 and NGC 3628. When you're observing it, it's about 9.8 by 2.8 arc minutes, and it shines at magnitude 9.3. This galaxy is about the size of the Milky Way. It's got a diameter of 90,000 light years, and it's at a distance about 35 million light years from us. On the sky, it's only 20 arc minutes away from Messier 66, but in real terms it's about 300,000 light years, so it's quite close when you think that Andromeda to Milky Way is about 2 million light years. So these galaxies in each other's sky will be about 10 times larger than Andromeda looks to us. When I was observing this, it kind of looked more like it has a nest shape to it, but that's kind of just picking up either end of that disc shape when I was observing it with through my eyepiece. Messier 65 is just 14 degrees away from being an edge-on galaxy, so you have that opening up of the center part of the galaxy, and you can see that bright core. It looks really star-like when you're observing it or in your images. It's quite a bright small core, and you can see the way the disk runs around the back of the galaxy, especially in images. Now, I was saying it's only 200,000 light years away from Messier 66. Messier 66 is the larger of the galaxies, of that pairing of galaxies, with a diameter of about 95,000 light years, and it's a bit brighter as well. It shines at magnitude 8.9, and it's an elongated galaxy. It looks a lot more face on than it actually is. You can see more so in your images the way it's tilted away, but those arm structures have been kind of brought around through interactions with NGC 3628, and it makes it look more face on than it is. It's at an incline of about 70 degrees, somewhere between 60 and 70 degrees from our vantage point. It's a bright galaxy to observe. It's got a reasonably bright, it's got a magnitude of about 8.9, and it has a size of 9.1 by 4.1 arc minutes, so it's a good size to observe as well. It's very distinctive in the eyepiece. It has a lot of bright stars sitting around it compared to Messier 65 or NGC 3628. So you can pick out between the triplet when you're observing it which one of 65 or 66 you're observing by those bright stars nearby. Again, like 65, it has a small nucleus as well, a small bright nucleus that you can pick up when you're observing or imaging or sketching this galaxy. Messier 66 shows that distortion from interactions with NGC 3628, but NGC 3628 has also got that material being pulled away from the galaxy, and there's a huge arc of galactic materials just spreading out away from NGC 3628 for hundreds of thousands of light years towards the east as we observe it. It's a really interesting galaxy. We're looking at it just about edge on. I think it's about 89 degrees, so it's just close to edge on. And as we observe it, we see that large dust lane cutting across through the middle of the bright galaxy as we look in through the edge of it. It's really nice to see it. You can see the way it fans out on the edge as well. And if you take your time observing it, you can see some of these bright parts of the galaxy spreading out at either end, which gives it the nickname of the Hamburger Galaxy. It also has a small satellite galaxy that just sits facing back in the direction of Messier 66 and Messier 65, just on the center pointing south. You see it in your images. It's a very, very faint galaxy, but that's a satellite galaxy of NGC 3628. To get my data for the images on these three galaxies, I used my monochrome camera again. It's a QHY 163 mono, and I had it on my 200 PDS, which has a focal length of 1000 millimeters. I shot it in both luminance, just in the mono, for 3 hours, and I put 4.5 hours of RGB on it as well. And it combined really well. I really like getting the detail out of the monochrome image on this one. I wasn't able to pull every bit of detail out of it in my final image, which I was trying to highlight some of the little elements in and around NGC 3628, but that tidal, big tidal stream that comes away from it is outside of the frame of my image. So if I wanted to do this, it might be better to frame it differently or try to focus on the galaxy solely to give it time to get that big tidal stream that's coming away from the galaxy from that interaction with Messier 66. But I'm really happy with the image. It's really nice to get some of the color detail and to get that center portion on Messier 66 as well as Messier 65 to get those little details within them. There's really nice detail in that dark structure as well through that the dark lane on NGC 3628. It's a really lovely image to be able to get these three galaxies as well at 1000 millimeter focal length, and you can spend a lot of time editing it. And if it was better placed for me, I think I'd spend a lot more hours on this image, but because it's a springtime constellation, it's kind of fleeting and you're trying to pick all of those nights that you have, trying to spend time on different targets. It'd be lovely to be able to commit multiple nights to this one target of the trio. So I think I'd need maybe a second imaging setup to spend a lot more time on targets like this, where I can give nearly a whole night to each of those color bands on it. But it's a fabulous target to image, and it's also a fabulous target to observe. I was observing this with my 12-inch Dobsonian, and it looks amazing through the eyepiece. I think the first time I observed it was through my 5-inch refractor a long time ago, and I was able to see those three little elements. But the detail you can get with a large mirror telescope is wonderful for sketching or for observing. Now, to locate it, you want to locate it by finding that bright beta star of Leo in the nebula, and then you see that little triangle that it creates with Chertan and Zuzma. So if you follow a line between Chertan and Zuzma and follow that down towards New Leonis, this is 73 Leonis, it's a magnitude 5.3. If you find it difficult to see that star, Iota is further away than that, and if you draw that line, you can just see 2 degrees on that line. That's kind of the position you'll be looking for to get with your finder scope. If you get New Leonis into your eyepiece, you should be able to see the triplet just as those faint little galaxies on the eastern side of that star. There's kind of a little line of stars around New Leonis, so if you're using your binoculars or finder scope, you should see that little bright section of stars just making a little line, and you can follow that to the eastern side of it again just to pick it up. It's It's slightly difficult the first time you try to position them, but you will get really used to that position and you'll be able to get it every time after that. But you'll just get used to that little distance away from the main part of Leo down to it. The handy thing about the constellation of Leo, a lot of the bright galaxies are in and around the main stars of the constellation, and the Leo Triplet is no different. My favourite view, however, is with the 24mm. I think this really shines in a wider field eyepiece because you can observe the two brighter galaxies of the Messier galaxies and then compare them with that lovely galaxy of NGC 3628 sitting to the north of the two of them. It's a really nice structure to observe, and you can see the way they've interacted in the past. If you can see some of that little detail coming off of Messier 66, it's wonderful to be able to see these galaxies that are pretty close in space together, and you're observing them from our vantage point. I also observed these in the past with my 8-inch Dob, and again with my 32mm, which I had at the time as my wide field eyepiece, Panaview eyepiece. They look great in that eyepiece, although I didn't see as much detail, but I think that was more a case of me not seeing more detail rather than the telescope itself, and it showed up really well in that one, that with my 60mm eyepiece in my 8-inch as well. This time around I used my refractors on it as well. I used my 1000mm refractor, and again I can see a lot more detail through that, but I did have a better, I do have a better diagonal than I used to have in the past with that refractor, which was my first telescope. So again, I was able to see more detail and a lot more detail in NGC 3628 through that telescope. And finally I used my small 82mm refractor. This is the closest thing to trying to observe under difficult conditions to see whether you can pick up NGC 3628. I used my wide field eyepiece on this one, my 24mm, and I was able to pick it up with averted vision. That was kind of the key to this one. Again, knowing what the triplet looks like through the eyepiece and knowing what it looks like through imaging it, it's a huge advantage in picking up the Hamburger galaxy visually, because you know which direction to be trying to tease it out against the background sky, whether it's bright or whether the sky conditions aren't good. But I got it on a really good moonless night, so it was a new moon night and it was a really good night of observing, and I was able to pick it up with my averted vision, and you can see the way the dust trails out from it. But again, being familiar with it and having seen it through another eyepiece helps a lot. I think first time around you might find it difficult with a smaller telescope, but if you have access to it, or at least if you have time, I think you'll be able to find this galaxy as well. The best view out of all of them again was with my large Dobsonian. I just think this is the kind of target, these galaxies are the ones you want to be observing through your larger instruments, because you can tease out that detail. If you're trying to sketch them or trying to image them, the larger aperture you have, you're going to get a lot more detail on those arm structures in these galaxies, especially because they've been distorted through those past interactions. It makes it a really good target to try to pick up those little extra details. So for my observation sessions on the Leo Triplet, I'll begin with the smallest instrument I used, and that was my 82mm refractor. This is a lovely target to try to spot in a small refractor because it has those galaxies nearby each other, so it kind of makes it a larger target even though the galaxies themselves are quite small. It showed up well, especially M65 and 66 showed up well at this. It's just a 530mm focal length. I was using my 24mm eyepiece. To spot NGC 3628 took a little bit of work, and it was mostly through averted vision, but I could still see the perfect size of the galaxy in relation to the other two. I also observed this with my 8-inch Dob, a Newtonian, but this was a few years ago, but I got a really good observation on it, but I wasn't seeing as much detail as I can see now, but I think that might have been my observing experience more than the optics. because I was using my other 1000mm telescope, which is a 5-inch refractor, and I used it last new moon and I got a really good view on this. It was quite similar to what I had seen through that reflector at the time, so I think I need to re-observe it with the 8-inch, but as I use it for my imaging, I don't get as much of a chance to observe through it. My main observation then was with my 12-inch Dob. This has a focal length of 1500mm, so it gives it a really tight view within that eyepiece, but you get some really good detail within those galaxies. Of the three, you can really see that distinct view of Messier 66 with those bright stars that kind of lead towards 65. And when you're sketching, you can see those lovely little stellar bright cores in 65 and 66. Messier 65 looks more like a really extended S shape when I was sketching it at the eyepiece. I found it hard to follow that track fully around as that kind of tight inclined galaxy, but this was before I had imaged it, so if I went back now after my image, I probably would see it a little better. Messier 66 on the other hand, then it looks much more face on when you're observing it in the eyepiece. You don't see that incline of 60 or 70 degrees that it has. It looks much more of a face on galaxy as you're sketching it, kind of similar to NGC 2903 over in the other side of the constellation. It has a similar kind of face on to that, but probably the most interesting one to sketch then is the Hamburger Galaxy, or NGC 3628, because of that lovely dark dust lane that you can tease out in your sketch. And it's really nice to try to follow that nice little feathering at the end of that galaxy, see how much of that detail you can cover in your observation. The Leo Triplet is a fantastic target to observe and to image. It's just one of those things that you get so used to in the night sky and you will return to it over and over. It's well placed, it's easy to locate. It's like M51 or the Andromeda Galaxy. You'll just get really familiar with that part of the sky and you'll be able to observe it. Even when you're not intending to observe it, you're looking at something else. It's a kind of a starter when you get out just to see what the sky conditions are like. And again, with imaging, even if you're not running a full image, you might go testing your imaging equipment on it. And it's just a great target to try to frame as well. It's a little tight on my framing setup, so the galaxies are right out at the edge of it. So if you have maybe a shorter focal length or a larger sensor camera, you'll find it a bit easier to fit them in. But again, they're really well worth imaging and observing. And if you can get out during the next new moon in April or May, this is a really good target to put on your list. And do let me know in the comments below if you managed to observe or image the Leo Triplet. And until next time, thanks so much for watching and clear skies.